Hello, YouTubers out there. This is Jerry Saravia at the movies. So today I'm not really doing a film review. I just want to discuss my appreciation for a 1985 John Hughes film, The Breakfast Club, which is celebrating its 40th anniversary and was released in February 15th of 1985. So this movie I didn't get to see in theaters because at the time I was not even 14 yet, and I couldn't go to an R-rated movie at that specific theater that was showing it, which was right around the corner from where I lived. It was called the Fresh Meadows Twin Cinema, and it's where I lived in Fresh Meadows, Queens, New York at that time. So I couldn't go to see it, but I was interested in seeing it. And I think right around that time, maybe a little bit later, I saw 16 Candles. And then eventually I saw Breakfast Club on cable. And then I saw Pretty in Pink in theaters. I managed to see that because that was PG-13. I mean, that's back when these ratings mattered. There was another theater, Cinema City 5, where anybody could go in practically to see R-rated movies. So the one showing there, which opened on June 28th of 1985, was Say Now Almost Fire. So I know a lot of people in my class, when I was going to school, went to see that as a group. Managed to get in just fine. They didn't need anyone to pay for their tickets, like some of us had to do. So, Breakfast Club is a movie that I can't really review the movie because, I mean, I could tell you this much. It's a great movie. It is quotable. All of it is quotable. It's as quotable as Chevy Chase and Fletch. I mean, it is, every line is just memorable. I mean, I always remembered it, and I'll get back to why that is. But it's a great movie, fantastic cast, from Anthony Michael Hall as the nerd to Emilio Estevez as the jock. All of these kids, of course, are in high school detention on a Saturday. Ali Sheedy as a girl who's always covering her face. You know, she's practically a loner. Nobody notices her, not her parents either. That's probably the most emotional character in the movie, other than the nerd, to a certain extent. Uh, and then, of course, you got Molly Ringwald as Claire, who is the prom princess, and Judd Nelson as Bender, who is the outcast, pretty much. You know, the guy who would be listening to heavy metal music and stuff like that, and is always in trouble and is in detention every damn week. So everything is memorable about this movie. But I can't really review the film because it was such a part of my teenage years, my formative teenage years, that I can't really give you a critical analysis of the picture, only my appreciation for it. And I never wrote a review for the film. And I was about to write an appreciation for the film last year on my blog, and I chose not to because I just felt that there's really nothing I could say that's any different from what anybody else would have said who was also a teenager at that time when they saw the movie. But I will say, it made me a fan of Molly Ringwald. I got interested in Ali Sheedy's career. I got interested in Judd Nelson's career. I got interested in Emilio Estevez's career. Well, Molly Ringwald I had a deep affection for. I mean, she was the it girl there for at least a few years in the 80s. And then eventually that went away. But I was interested in the whole cast because of that movie. It's such a great cast. Every performance is excellent. They are so good that, to me, it's John Hughes' best movie. That would be my final review for the movie completely. It's his best movie, period. Breakfast Club is him at the height of his powers. He did a fantastic job writing that movie. Now, did I know people like this in high school? Well, I didn't know any prom princesses. Certainly no one that looked like Claire, or Molly Ringwald for that matter. Ali Sheedy's character, Allison, I knew a few girls like that. They were they stayed hidden. You know, it's like you knew they were there, but you didn't engage, and they didn't engage with you necessarily. Nerds like Brian, Anthony Michael Hall. Yeah, I mean, there were quite a few of those, of course. I didn't meet anyone quite like John Bender. So, the characters, I couldn't really relate to them in that sense, but only in terms of their troubles, their issues, their personalities. And it's such a charismatic cast. They humanize the characters so much that, at that time, if you think about it, in the 80s, there were a lot of what Roger Ebert called the dead teenager movies, right? All the slasher pictures. And you never got to know any of those characters very well at all, who were, you know, uh, pretty much teenagers in all of them. Um, or horror films, or even the spring break type movies, of course. There were a whole bunch of those. Where the Boys Are, Spring Break, of course, Fraternity Vacation, Porky's, etc. But in this movie, they really went out of their way to really establish these characters. And John Hughes, this is just the pinnacle of his career, I think, was this movie. On a side note, a couple of years later, I was such a huge fan of Molly Ringwald that I got to see her in a play called, I believe it was called Lily Dale, on Broadway. And that was my parents' birthday gift to me, and I went by myself to see it. So it was great to see. That's the only time I've seen Molly Ringwald, in the flesh, so to speak. But the other thing about Breakfast Club, my cousin Patty and I were big fans of the movie. So when I went to visit her in Canada back in '86, we talked about some of the movies that we loved. And then the following summer in '87, I spent that whole summer with her and, my aunt and uncle and so on and other cousins. But she and I really got along, and we did something to this day I've never done since. We actually tried to write from memory every single line of dialogue from Breakfast Club, from the beginning of the picture to the end. We only got, I think, not even halfway, and she still to this day has those pages. So, yeah, those are my memories of Breakfast Club. Molly Ringwald being the it girl. I mean, I saw Anthony Michael Hall in most of his movies that he did at that time, particularly Weird Science, of course. Even a bad film. It's not a good film at all. Out of Bounds, which was a thriller. I got interested in Ali Sheedy, but she was doing more independent type films, which was good. I mean, because she is a good actress, a very good actress, and extremely underrated. And Emilio Estevez, I think I saw him. Well, I saw him in St. Elmo's Fire, but not in theaters. But I did see a film in theaters called Wisdom, which was a terrible movie with him and Demi Moore. I think it was directed by Estevez. Not a good movie. And Judd Nelson, I would see him here and there. I mean, he made some pretty decent movies. So, one of the more interesting ones, from that movie, one of the more interesting characters. But yeah, that movie, it's a part of my life. And so it's difficult to write about something that is that personal. It is very personal for me. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on The Breakfast Club. Lend me yours. Tell me if there are any movies, particularly like Breakfast Club, if not The Breakfast Club, that are nostalgic for you, that you return to every once in a while, and you're just brings back all these memories, a flood of memories. Yeah. So those are my thoughts on that. Tell me what you think. And one other side note: there's a girl that I know who's in her 20s, and her favorite movie is The Breakfast Club. So that came out long before she was ever born, and which is good. That's a good thing. But it's interesting that's her favorite movie. There are no other movies about teenagers since then, within the last 10 years, that I guess she relates to nearly as well as The Breakfast Club. That's interesting. So lend me your thoughts. Tell me what you think. Please hit like and subscribe if you like what you hear. And if you are a subscriber, of course, thank you. That's all I got to say about The Breakfast Club, celebrating 40 years. Amazing. And this is Jerry Saravia at the Movies, signing off.